So thank you everyone for being here today. Nice to see you all together. Yes, and I'm really excited to start this project with you. And so I'm really excited to see what you are coming up with at the end of this residency program and to follow your process of work. Of course, when we are, I mean, now it's just us, so we don't really have to be so mindful. But when we are not, you are not speaking, just switch off your mic and then switch it on when you speak. And then, yes, we have time at the end for a Q&A session if we want to chat or share about your work and processes. Then it's great to do it at the end after everyone finished. So, of course, you know me, I'm Elena Redelli. So I'm very, very happy to be here with you. I'm very grateful for your support in this time. And of course, also I have to thank AiNIN Bureau members because they have been very, very helpful on during all this process, during the preparation, the selection process, and with social media and networking. They are really supportive. And of course, you know, we are a volunteer-based organization, so we try to do our best, and I hope this will be a very enjoyable experience for everyone, and everyone can benefit from it. AiNIN is an association is a French association, but is international, and it was founded in 1999. And since then has been supporting artists and organizers who created and engage with site-specific work in the environment across a broad range of disciplines. Due to COVID-19, the international mobility of artists is restrained, and we, of course, are all facing major changes in our life and ways of working. So the idea of this residency program, as you know, is basically that of supporting artists by sharing culture and creativity. We try to be close and to create connection, even if we are at a distance, we are far apart. Our idea behind the theme of our project, our residency, Dynamic Natural Connection, want to celebrate the germination of ideas, continual growth, and capacity for transformation and renewal. That's why we chose your projects, which are process-based and based on research. So the main concept of your ideas is rooted in nature, but nature is taken as an evolving concept. So that's what was fascinating for us about your projects. And that's what we want. We want to invite curiosity and exploration in our processes of art making and art creation. So even when we are apart in confined spaces, we want to enhance connectivity among you and among our ideas and minds. In AiNIN, we believe that art in nature implies respecting nature and commenting upon our relationship with the environment rather than exploiting it for the sake of art. And in all your projects, there is this core concept of collaborating with nature in an harmonious way, right? So that's why we chose you. Our definition of nature includes human and non-human animals, animate and inanimate beings, wild and untouched landscape, rural cultivated agricultural spaces, urban, suburban, city park environment and conservation reserves across a variety of public and private domains. Site-specific work in the environment and landscape can take many forms. However, paying attention to diverse geographical, cultural, historical, physical, and elemental context of an environment is at the core of what AiNIN artists do. We are really committed to re-envision a constructive rather than destructive approach to creating art in nature. And also AiNIN as an association is evolving, is changing a lot from the beginning, from when it was started in 1999. With this residency, we really want to plant some new seeds for possible future. We want to keep, of course, the ideal of AiNIN alive, but we consider this as a fertile ground to grow new possibilities as a new season for regeneration. So you are the first seeds of AiNIN, new developments. And we have Sally with us that she's there. She's gonna speak a little bit about AiNIN because she has been a member since 2015. She is really committed, and she is also an amazing artist. We have been collaborating a lot, and we work together in a collective. And she can speak better than me about AiNIN. And Sally, go on.
Well, I think you've said all the things, a lot of the things I was actually going to say, but that's okay. and welcome. I see we have some other members that have joined us. I see Lorna on the Bureau, and Sally Duncrow has also joined us from the Bureau, and Karen van der Molen, who initially told me about AiNIN. So welcome to come on board.
Welcome.
She's been a member for a long time too. So AiNIN, was, as Eleanor said, was formed, it was finally formed, inaugurated, or whatever you call it, in 2001. And it's set up in a very French organisation. So we're quite restricted by some of the regulations within the organisation because it was set up 20 years ago. So we have been a little restricted, and we have to remain a voluntary organisation. And we always have to ask permission of all the members of decision making that we do. So originally the organisation was, it was identified that they needed some sharing networks because pre-internet, of course, it was very difficult to find out about projects and symposiums that were happening. It was hard to share that information. So AiNIN, I think the initial idea was to set it up to be able to circulate opportunities and make connections with like-minded artists that were caring for the environment and working with site specificity and site response. And there are so many land-based artists that were working in isolations that they needed to sort of connect. So AiNIN's had a very important role in these connections, and now it stretches right across the world. Now we have members here in Australia, New Zealand, Taiwan, China, South America, Canada, and all over Europe. I'm sure there's some countries I've missed out, but we're still quite small, but we do have an incredible diverse community. And we have performance artists, we have musicians, sound artists, sculptors, installation artists, the whole diversity, writers, photographers, a whole range of artists. And we're very excited the projects that you proposed, that so many of you have got such original, exciting new ideas to join the community. So I think this will help AiNIN to grow and diversify a lot more. So we're really pleased to have you all on board. And this was the kind of idea behind calling for the residency, to develop people's understanding of art in nature, because it's not just about working with land and plants. It's sort of, it's a form of I use it as a form of activism. So it's my way of expressing my frustrations about environmental degradation and environmental impacts and damages caused by society. So I use it for that. And I know many artists in AiNIN have been use their work as activism. So it's obviously been around for years. We've all been hammering at it, but it's difficult to get people to hear us sometimes. But I think that's all changing now, of course. So yes, we're all we are very excited to see what eventuates from this residency, and we look forward to your memberships. I will be sending you out contracts probably later midweek, and I'll be inviting you to sign up to the AiNIN website, because that's part of your fee, so you don't have to pay us anything for that, but I will send you the link to those of you that are not members. I'll invite you to join. So I'll sort that all out as the week goes on, and we will be, of course, paying you on the completion of the residency. So I have that all sorted out. So I apologise for being a bit delayed in contacting you. Okay, so thank you. I think that's all I have to say. I'm sure there are some other Bureau members. They may want to add some things possibly that I've missed out on. They've been members for longer than I have. So do we have time to throw that open?
Yeah,
or?
if Lorna wants to say something. No? Okay.
No?
She's also a Bureau member since a lot of time. So, yeah.
Okay.
So also this idea of rethinking about our relationship with nature, and also the idea of choosing your projects that present such a diverse approach to this topic came out in different ways during this time of lockdown and restriction of traveling, because we were also thinking we are site specific, we are based on the physical relation with nature, but how do we change this approach to site, the specificity of a place when you cannot go there directly? So this whole idea of having an online residency but based on the topics of nature is also a way to re-envision this approach to environment. Also, we like that you brought to us a huge variety of perspective, and you are all different artists. We choose a really diverse medium. The medium you use are from technology, science, biology, but also there are site-specific, more like installation art, performing arts. So we really like this diversity among you. And of course, we chose your project because of the quality of your proposals and the deepness of ideas, and also the research methods you use. So that's very important for us at the moment, also to see new ways, and of course to share and learn from one another. We had a huge response to our first open call, and we are very grateful to all the artists that participated, but for sure we chose your project because they really eat the commission attention, and we were all basically we agreed to choose you. So your project deal with climate change, interaction among technologies, human and the environment, but also biological process, the human body in nature, and nature reasserting itself on used landscape, cycles of nature and its growth, and of course the relation with the traditional owner of the land. So I think Jabba, which is the first one that has to leave the meeting, can speak a little bit about her work. If you like to introduce yourself and what you're going to work with in the residency, that would be great. And then maybe if we have questions, we can just ask you right away, so then you can leave.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you. Shall I share screen a bit so we have some visual?
Yeah, if you like, that would be great.
I think you need to allow attendee screen sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ask me already the possibility to do it? Because it doesn't pop up.
I think you can enable it first so that we can. I couldn't really ask you to do that.
No. Wait.
You have like, you're supposed to have like a button, I think on the bottom, like allow to share the screen.
Yeah, it doesn't come out because usually it comes out when you ask to do it, right? Okay. Now this is mine. Wait a second. Can you see now if it's coming?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
I can share. Do you see the right screen? Yeah. So yeah, in my proposal, I proposed this a series of works around glacier. This is in Alaska, like sample the color and each color drop down, and in the end, there's a painting on the canvas. I'll go through this super fast. And also changing the climate change data into a song and composed a dance, a performance, and a music out of it. And also placed the mirror on the glacier that melted and facing the glacier, saying this was me, or facing the river that they melt into, saying this is my future. So these were the series of work I was working on last year in the summer, and I'm continuing on building a VR or virtual reality film around the story between a girl and a piece of glacier. And so that was my proposal, and I'm still working on that. But for the period of this time, because now I'm in Hawaii because of COVID, and I can't go back to Alaska this month. So I'm working on another series, which is about octopus and squid, and I'm calling it Cthulhucene, based on Daniel Haraway's tentacular thinking. So I'm collaborating with University of Hawaii Marine Biology Lab. They are researching on bobtail squid and many other cephalopods. And I have an octopus at home for a day, and I released her back. So this word is about the scientists call this human-centered thing Anthropocene. In a way, it recognizes how human behavior deplete the nature, but also in another way, it put human as the center of the world. So this is a world, imagine human is not the center anymore, but sea level rise, that like Earth, it's all covered by ocean, and octopus remove their ability, there's this optical glide in their mantle in between their eyes, so that they can reproduce even after they're giving birth, so that they become the next dominating species. And there's also the thinking, if human will inevitably become extinct due to this environmental breakdown, how can we leave a legacy that means something? How can we design a better extinction for ourselves so that our legacy will survive and the next dominating species will remember us with a little bit tenderness and empathy? And if the existence of art and design is to make our extinction a little more elegant and to let the next dominating species remember us better, what art can we create to let this octopus and other cephalopods remember us better when we are extinct? And I first started as making some dance as the first gesture to make a connection between our body and the octopus body and try to embody them. This is like a dance rehearsal. And like we are still developing and going to shoot it this weekend. So instead of building walls or treating them as enemy, how can we try to connect? And also the dance, we'll also, so these are the patterns I'm making on the background and also on their costume. So they kind of represent mimic the octopus, and yeah, some other dance clips. And we'll shoot a movie of sort of the dance. They also dance on the beach, and afterwards, the dancers will have training as well, to have like Zoom training, more like a couple yoga, to train people to be like an octopus, to think like octopus with 9 brains, not with a centralized brain, but more democratized brain, that each of their limbs have their own mind. And it's in her work, she said she identifies with the boulder. It's called a self-portrait. So in a way, how can we identify ourselves as octopus? Yeah, and the training in a way, it's like we train ourselves to be ready for war or be ready for earthquake. Then in this case, in our extinction or in facing the next dominating species, it's not ourselves. How can we train better or connect us better with octopus as the center? And yeah, I'm also like trying to do some machine learning and to like I take a bunch of videos of octopus swimming and turn them into like a person dancing. This I'm still training. It takes a long time to do training. I'm also writing some poems. Sorry, this is in Chinese. I started this and writing some poem and graphic novel to kind of build this world. What would happen in this world? What is a world like? What is human inside? What does country mean to them? What does even marriage mean to them? Will they form society or they are more solitary animals? And looking through this like octopus map or this octopus map kind of depicting, using them to depict a centralized government. And if the contemporary octopus, which I call them, if they discovered all these things that human created, what's their interpretation? Will they create their own mythology? For example, octopus create the world and they cut a tentacle and the tentacle become an Antarctica or something. How would that be like? Or they look at the Hokusai's painting, like what do they interpret? Do they interpret as octopus have sex with human and then that's how we give birth to human? Or any other interpretation, or how they interpret the sex toys we create around them. Yeah, so that's like one. And I'm also trying to do some gyotaku because I'm working with this lab and I live together with the squid, bioluminescent squid day by day. And also these are the squid babies I took under the microscope and inverted the photo. And I observed them a lot. And these are the ink they create. Oh, by the way, can you see the video in a high frame rate? Hold on.
So you want to show a video or is already in this slide?
It's video. Are you able to see it in an okay frame rate?
No.
Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, so you see an image. Oh, geez. Sorry. Sorry, I'm finishing soon. Don't want to take up too much time. Okay. Anyway. Yep. Yeah. So I'm making. So this is a video of the squid swimming around and they're inking, and then taking their ink, which is the thing they create, out of fear when the lab scientists take them out to mate, and also some of them died along the way as they do the experiments. And I took their body as to make gyotaku, like the Japanese when they do it during fishing. Yeah, and I'm also looking at the bioluminescence bacteria from pineapple fish in the lab, like taking them out. This is also a video if you can see it. Take them out, culture the bacteria, and they can glow. So I'm looking to that on both the design art side. Yeah, and some like sign painting, though all kind of based on their nature and habitat. Yeah, so this is very much work in progress.
Wow, it's very exciting. And maybe you could share the videos in our shared folder on Dropbox so that that we can see them anyway, because it seems very interesting and they're very, very sweet. It's cool, little things. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop off from here because it's really late and I have an interview tomorrow morning. I'll watch the recording later. So nice to meet everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See
Bye.
you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yes. So next one, I want to invite Clara and Jos. If you can speak a little bit about yourself and your work. When I first read your proposal, I was really fascinated because it feels like a very familiar landscape to me. So we live very close in Italy. We are from the same region. So it's when I saw their project, it was really touching for me because it's based on a very common landscape that you can find in this area. The woods are the same. So it was very interesting to see how we, in this time of restriction where we cannot travel, we start to reevaluate the familiar landscapes, the landscape that we have around us, but often they are unseen. We never give attention, but now they become very important. So I really would like to know how you see this place, and if you can speak a little bit about your ideas and yourself as a collaborating group of artists.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jos. I live with Clara from 16 months in this house in a very small town of the Prealps near Bergamo in the north of Italy. Here we share time, we work on our projects, and we live in nature that begins just beyond of the front door. Here I have some of my musical instruments, Clara's piano, and many books and scores. I studied music from the early age, but I don't still study English. I graduated in piano and then started to get interested in early music and contemporary music. So I like to play the medieval polyphonies and John Cage and field glass music. I am attracted to natural sound events, and I often move around with a digital recorder to collect small musical landscapes. I like to create composition by mixing the sounds of nature and the sound of classical or ethnic musical instruments. I am interested in trees, mazes, stones, numbers, wordplay, the early Japan books, and I love Clara's artistic work. And I am happy to collaborate with her and to share our work with you.
Hi, I'm Clara. Sorry for our English, but we try to explain our work and profile. I am a visual artist and performer. I graduated at the Academy of Fine Art, and I also study dance and theater. I'm interested in insignificant small events of everyday life. With my work, I'm looking for possibilities of salvation. I search between the visible dimension of reality and the visionary and intangible part of existence. I like working with site-specific installation and performance. And I explore the infinite relationship between nature, space, and social dynamics. I think that creative practice is one way of taking care of what is fragile, sacred, and impermanent. Our project for AiNIN is entitled I'm Here, and it develops around a particular place near here. We live in the mountains of the edge of the forest, and here, near here, there is a path in a wood that suddenly opens up into a large space that almost looks like a lunar surface. Tomorrow we share you a photo and video. This is an area of abandoned quarry. Here there is stones of different size that dots the space and evoke a time on a border between past and future. Here we imagine a visual and sound intervention that focuses on some of these large stones. On their surface, maps of real or imaginary cities will be engraved, and they treated with gold, leaf gold. They will be projects, therefore, place where man and nature finally find a harmony. We have chosen to use gold because it is a precious and reflective material that symbolically leads back to alchemical process.
The musical part involves an on-site collection and recording of natural and non-natural sound events: wind, leaves, birds, water drops, natural noises, and also the sound of little stones that roll on the big stones, and the sound of woods on stones, and the water that runs on surface of stones. Later, they will be processed and composed to form a frame with the visual part. The reference is the concrete music and the soundscapes. I'd also like to combine geophonies and the biophonies collected on site with a more abstract and speculative work, taking ideas from the John Cage and Yanis Xenakis and the concept of the graphic music. I will use some of transparent sheets and drawings of the big rock on which Clara will work. From its outline, I will get a sound profile. This sound design will be combined with the sound landscape recorded in nature.
We choose to work with stones because they can be read as the principle of things. Stones is also the threshold space, the border place where two apparently distant dimensions find a way to join and connect, where visible and invisible meet. Just think of how many sacred sites are marked by the presence of a stone. I think Stone Age or the other place. This physical place, rich in symbolic and emotional meanings, becomes an ancestral space, containers of the values of intimacy. Keep it in our inner work.
In these days that we will spend together, we would like to be able to deliver a reflection, experience, emotion, and the different phases of the installation to different materials, such as a short writing, photographs, audio clips, drawings, and video. It's a multimedia narrative, a kind of travel diary, containing the highlights of every single day.
And we imagine that we are walking together with you. A physical distance separates us, but we perceive a closeness of the intent. We look forward to knowing more about your work and the thought that accompanied it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. And I already have a spoiler. So at the end of during the third week, Clara and Joss are gonna have a very interesting workshop for us. So yes, then I'm gonna share more information with you, but I'm looking forward to try the experience of the threshold with you. So yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. And of course, next, let's see. So Malgorzata, do you want to go next? Yes, and then also you are going to be in the same group with Clara and Joss. So yes, I think your work can have a lot in common.
Okay. Hello, I'm just once again, I'm Małgorzata Suś. I'm from Poland, but at the moment I'm living in Portugal. So also my project will be happening here in Portugal. And I'm a dancer and performer and choreographer. I work a lot with nature in almost all of my projects. This one that I will be developing here in the frame of AiNIN is a new project called Plants Dictionary. But I'm also parallelly working on another project dedicated to water. So shifting in these two fields. But here for the following 3 weeks, I'm going to focus on plants and qualities of the plants, and how I can incorporate these qualities that I will observe into my body and transform it into movement. The idea is to plant every day one plant, different species. So it will be trees, flowers, vegetables. So there is no like definition of what kind of plants they are. And I'm going to work on the eco farm in Portugal, going there today after our meeting. And I will stay there for these 3 weeks. Also, my friend, photographer and filmmaker, Pablo Cori will join me in the process. So we will be working together. Probably he will appear tomorrow in our meeting already. And yes, so I decided to choose this formula of planting and then creating the dance, because I believe that we need to not only speak in the art about environmental issues, like I already also did it a lot, and now I feel like another level is to actually combine the environmental activities with art. So that's why I decided to actually learn about planting and do it myself. It will be learning for me because I have some connection with earth because of my family, but I did not really work with the earth so much. So I will be also learning during this process, which is very exciting for me. So in the farm where I'm going to work, I will also have contact with people who actually know a lot about farming, about permaculture. So I'm also looking forward to learn something for myself from it, and then transform it into art. So the outcomes of my project, it's going to be a photography documentation, both of the plants and of my performance, and a video documentation from each day and for each different plant and different part of the dance. And also, since I'm beyond dance, I'm also very often using writing as an expression tool. So I also decided to add to every plant and every dance sequence a short text that will be more poetic, but I also would like to include the information about the plant that I'm working with, so I can also share some actual knowledge with my audience. And the aim is to build kind of album. In the beginning, it will be the online album. So I'm doing a website for this project where everyone will be able to see, like, day by day, kind of page by page, different plants and different interpretations. And my dream is to make it grow. So, like I said, this is the beginning of the project, but I want to continue it in different places and over in the future. Like I actually have already some next residence planned for this project as well, so I'm very excited that it's going to continue. And yeah, and hopefully in the future it can also be joined by more artists. That's what I would love to, that it happens, because I think it would be very interesting to also add interpretations in different medias, like for example musical interpretation also to what is like happening with the plants in my process. So yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you. And also we already have also a plan for a workshop with Margosata where she's gonna show us some movements from her dictionary. So I'm very excited and I really want to try this out in the 3rd week. Okay, next one. Hélène, would you like to speak about your project?
Hello,
Yes.
can you hear me? Great. I've also got some shared content in a little bit as well, if that's all right. So yeah, well, thanks so much for letting me be part of this with you all. I feel really excited about being able to have some kind of residency and communication, even though we're all so far apart. It's definitely a big thanks to Sally and Karen that they were the ones to tell me about AiNIN in 2012. And yeah, definitely a great organization to be part of. And I live in Margaret River down in the southwest of Western Australia. So I'm pretty isolated, and it's really fantastic to feel like I'm part of the bigger community of artists who do care about nature and are actually really engaged in making art that actually makes comment about how we're dealing with being on this crazy planet at the moment. So that's a big part of it for me. Also very glad to be able to make a work locally. I think the Artists in Nature Network group quite often we're traveling here and there, and it feels wonderful to actually, and also because of COVID and everything that's happening, is to really focus in locally, which I have done some of that. So a few years ago, I did a residency close by in a little place called Ellenbrook. I'll just get this up so you can see some images, hopefully.
Yes, great.
Oh. There we go. Oh, geez, we're getting there. Technology.
Yes.
Sorry, everyone. Okay, I'm there now. So this was a residency I did on the farm, and it's on the upper catchment of a little area called the Ellenbrook. It's really quite a small river system. I'm more kind of like, I guess, the old-fashioned land artist. I go out and I really sink into place and just use what's around, and I guess make a more like a visual arts expression in the place, and really try and tell a story and really communicate with the land as best as I can. Here in Western Australia, working in Australia, it must be different for people from different places, but I was born in Scotland, and so my ancestors aren't from here, as is so much the case with so many people here in Australia and other places of the world as well. And if you really sink into a place and it's telling stories, and realize you're butting up against a place that has stories going back, say, here in the southwest of maybe 60,000 years. And they're not actually my ancestors' stories. They're stories of my friends and the Indigenous people here in Australia. So I've learned through time working this way that I found it's really important to work with the Indigenous people as they're just getting input and understanding of the stories of the place that have gone and the footsteps that have gone before me. And maybe right through to collaboration, depending on how lucky I am. So this is a photo of Wadandi Elder, the people of this area called Wadandi people. And this is Vivian Brockman. When I went to the farm, I was only just actually starting to, I would go up and volunteer at the Aboriginal Centre and just sort of starting to make contact. And she ended up coming to speak with me, and just, I was making a work I didn't fully understand, but for her it was very clear that the way I'd made the artwork in the water system, it's about how the energy moves from an east-west direction. So that's how she saw what I had done. And this was very much working in the earth and the digging and the clay and just digging in, and then the water came. And eventually I'm also, I think, also definitely into ephemeral art and things absolutely not lasting and allowing nature to find its way through. So being inspired by that, I really want to actually take the energy of the work out to the ocean. So the residency I'm going to do is going to be, and eventually it will end up in the ocean. But for this residency, I'm doing the middle section. So it's about the forest. And these are the beautiful Vedandi people that I've worked with and become quite close with now. And they're going to come out and speak and work with me on site as I develop the work. So this is the middle section of the Ellenbrook. It really is quite different. So it's going to be great because the work I did initially was all farms. It was farm-based and a very sort of scarred landscape. Whereas now I'm actually moving into the forest and into the abundant forest. And it actually supports a tree, that little river. It's so small, really tiny and quite intimate, as you could see from those pictures. But it supports these huge trees. You see that big orange one on the left. It's called a carry tree, and it's actually the 3rd tallest tree in the world. We are a bit wet here, but not really. But this little brook is so moist, and as you can see from the farm scarred landscape through to this moist, wonderful forest. So we're going to be developing a work, working with that, and going to be talking to geologists and just getting a bigger view of the Ellenbrook tributary system and getting the stories from the locals, and then working out exactly what the work's going to be. I've got some ideas, but I really like just to spend the first week just really sinking into process and sinking into place. A big part of how the work's going to happen as well is I love working with community and getting them to make smaller aspects of, they make smaller parts of the work, and then it all helps to build one big work together. So this is a work that I did before. Quite often I do the thing called the stick bundles, and everyone makes those, and then I add them into one big work together. And I think that's all I had to say. And yeah, thanks very much for the opportunity to be part of this with you all.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you so much. I remember the first time I saw one of your work. I was in Gwandu Park back in 2016, and you were there maybe 2 years before, and I found on the ground all your small pieces, and then I started to collect them because they were so beautiful, and then I knew that they were part of your work. And yes, this idea of being ephemeral is very, very sweet, because you are very gentle with nature, but still it remains something about the poetry or thought of how mindful you are with the environment. So I think I'm really excited to see what you're gonna build for this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so next, Freya, do you want to speak?
Hello. Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks.
Thank you for everyone speaking English. It's so unfair that I have, I am British, so I'm calling from Cornwall. I'm also going to share my screen, hopefully. Yeah, allow. What do you mean? Entire screen, allow. Is that right? Can you guys see my screen?
I see my face. Very
You
big.
see your
Yes.
face?
Now,
Oh no.
now I see you. I see
Okay.
you.
Okay, great. So yes, hello. I am thank you so much for everyone as well moving forward. It's so brilliant to have a way to connect with everyone in this time. I am an artist and a designer, and one of my sort of the base concepts is to help people to emotionally connect to the idea of oneness. It's very easy to say everything is connected, everything is one, and I believe those things myself, but to help people who maybe don't believe that yet to actually grasp onto it and emotionally connect in a way that will change their behavior is this huge task, I think, that sort of faces us as a species. I'm very interested in creating sort of science fiction or future narratives that are optimistic. I don't say utopic because I don't believe in any kind of perfect future, but I passionately believe that we can do better, and that the lack of belief in that possibility is a self-fulfilling prophecy. So alongside very important, realistic, and sometimes scary predictions of where we're headed, we definitely need those. I think as well as that, we need to present people with exciting, optimistic visions that will motivate them to get involved and be active in creating that better future. I am a sort of daily meditator, and that's a big part of my work. I've lived in Japan, which is where I kind of got into it, and that's also quite an important part of my kind of history, that the respect and research that I've done into Japanese culture and Shinto and Buddhism. So I want to start by just showing you a bunch of projects from my past. Probably it's going to be a little bit whirlwind because I won't go into too much detail, but hopefully give you kind of an idea of where I'm coming from. So this is a piece of mine back in 2011 called The Hush Chair, which I now realize is about a meditation chair, about facilitating privacy. And I'm increasingly or always kind of interested in how we can help people find solitude and reflection, because in some ways we are very connected. You know, there's again this idea of that we are super connected yet somehow not connected in the right way. And I think that things start within, and we need to help people understand their own bodies and brains and spirituality so that they can connect and kind of share more conscientiously. I am very interested in biophilic design principles. I lecture on that, and I will be teaching a course on that. Just in case, biophilic design principles is the understanding of our evolutionary psychology and the 99.9% of our time that we've spent in the more than human or natural world. So it's understanding why our brains and bodies respond to nature positively, and then using those principles in the built environment. So as a designer, for example, I do pods where I am always trying to use asymmetry, soft fascination, natural forms, and different tools to create objects that are less jarring and are more in tune with our natural kind of desires. This is a piece called Triptych, which is part of a collective that I'm in. And this is a kind of really on the nose exploration of how can we get those this idea of oneness in something that people can interact with. So Triptych is a archetypal character where human, nature, and technology intersect. Hopefully soon with other performers, because it's really not meant to be, it is me in this picture, but moving forward it could be any and all humans. And we use ritual and ceremony to help people connect to this idea. I'm also really interested in how we can use the digital world to connect us to nature. So for example, I'm fascinated by our increased understanding of the mind and how that relates to understanding why nature makes us feel good and why meditation or related practice. I don't believe that anything is good for everyone. So maybe for some people meditation isn't right, but other things that will achieve a similar ambition. And I worked with an animator to create this Biophilic user interface for a meditation training device. I think when it comes to the digitization of nature, it should never be a replacement for people who can and are able to connect to nature. But I think it's very important because we are in a time where there are many, many humans who have think they've lost that connection to nature, in that they are not able to be pushing themselves to go out and find it. But then the affinity it was within them, it's in our DNA, and digital is a way of getting that nature to them, because the more people can connect to the idea of nature and have a personal relationship with it, the more likely they are to actually go out to it or, again, change their behavior. I am continuing always to develop this sort of future world. It's like a biospaceship. It's something that I've been thinking a lot about, and sort of is coming out more recently, where we've have fused everything together, technology, nature, and humans, and are at that point of exploring the galaxy and changing ourselves to meet new natural environments. I'm increasingly working with natural materials as sort of part of my process, and I'm developing a way of thinking about that works for me, and I want to eventually see them as sort of co-creators and be hopefully led a little bit about their needs and their desires. But it's very difficult, and I freely admit that I'm starting this journey. So that's, yeah, just maybe a whirlwind kind of tour of some of my research and thinking. What I'm going to be doing in the next 3 weeks is hopefully setting up a sort of feedback loop between nature, technology, and the human, myself in nature, and also all the humans and the AiNIN members who are out there. I have come to this is a little quite cold, but I'm going to have to get into it, caravan in a village in Cornwall where I basically was almost born. I've been coming here since forever. And I feel so grateful and lucky to have been able to come here. I want to share it with as many people as possible. And I'm going to be using Instagram kind of as the technology to upload and communicate that with people. I'm going to create maybe a piece of land art, a sort of a pod or a chair from moss, but this is just an idea to mainly kind of get me out and interacting with nature. The final piece may change. I will be digitizing this environment using my iPhone kind of as the parameter, like what can I do with this piece of technology. So I'll be 3D scanning things, taking audio files and videos and images, and uploading them all to a shared folder. I have actually invited a few of my friends to sort of take part by using certain pieces to create new art that they're going to then feed back to me. I'm also working with a filmmaker who's going to pull it all together. I really hope that to work with the other AiNIN members as well, and that can all feed in somehow. To put myself in a position where I have a new mental consciousness, where I'm potentially able to find an understanding or a communication maybe with nature that I haven't been able to find in the past as a sort of urban dwelling, very busy person. And so to that purpose, I have created 3 vows that I'm hoping will basically create a vacuum where nature will hopefully come in. So those vows are, for these 3 weeks, no verbal communication. This is the last time you'll hear me speak in 3 weeks. I will still be texting and talking and writing, and so very much connected, but I won't be talking to anyone for these 3 weeks. I'm going to get off London time. I just came from London yesterday, this awful journey, and I've had an amazing few months, but it's been so busy. This is the perfect time. I'm really excited to get off that temporal plane and hopefully move in some small fraction onto a natural temporal plane, which is very different from the human-made one. So I will rise with the sun, as much as possible, not be looking at my phone to tell me when to eat or when to make. I would just be trying to sort of click into natural rhythms. And then the last one, which is actually the one that I'm the most kind of, I think is going to be difficult, is no recreational tech. So no movies, no Netflix, no music. I am someone who, because I think in response to my warehouse conditions where there's a lot of noise, I have kind of something on all the time, music or movie or something. So to actually remove that, I don't really know what's going to happen. The way I'm approaching the 3 weeks is that the first 2 weeks are a slightly softer experimental time when I'm sort of collecting and wondering, and I will still be doing outside work and it's sort of in the mornings and that kind of thing. And then that final week, I want to move into a much more committed space where I won't do any work apart from this AiNIN residency work. And hopefully we'll have found some ways in those 2 weeks to really put into practice in that final week to create a time when I am interacting with nature and people through Instagram in a more immersive, completely immersive way. I want to say that I don't really know what's going to happen. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm going to be bored. Maybe I'm going to be depressed. Maybe I'm going to be ecstatic. This is to try and create a new mindset for myself that then hopefully I can find something useful for, you know, the wider humanity. It's ambitious, I don't know, but I think they always say that you can't fix a problem with the same thinking that created it. And so it seems to me that as well as sort of doggedly following the structures that we have to solve problems and working within the system, which I think is really important, there needs to also be space for completely new thinking about how we can interact with the natural world and technology, which I believe is amazing and is a tool that can go both ways and is not incompatible with this future that's better. I don't think it's necessarily about moving back. I definitely think looking back and learning from our past is crucial, but I want to move forward. So yeah, I want to try and find ways of helping AiNIN members and other public members to use me as a sort of an avatar, a real world avatar, to interact with nature. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'm thinking Instagram polls to ask people, you know, they can tell me what to do to a certain degree. And I'm going to be trying to think of other ways to really draw people down into this space. And I want to give thanks to Monica Gagliano, who wrote Thus Spoke the Plant, which was a big inspiration to this idea of this process. She just is studying how much plants communicate with each other. They don't talk, of course, it's different, and they have a totally different way of communicating, but they are doing it, and I think that is such a huge revelation. And yeah, I am really excited to hopefully find something new or go a bit crazy, I don't know. And yeah, that's me. Everyone
okay,
hear that?
thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. So yes, it's very exciting to know what's gonna happen with you, and
Yeah.
I hope you can find a way to communicate easily with your group, even without speaking, and with me sometimes just write, and so I know that
Yeah.
you are okay. Okay, good luck then. Stay warm.
Yeah, it's really cold, and I'm gonna have to. That is nature, so I have to get into it as well.
Well, Katya, now it's you. You are the last one, and yes.
Yeah, it's a little bit even colder because I'm in St. Petersburg, Russia.
Ooh.
Originally, I'm from Russia, but I lived abroad for like quite a long time and just came back at the beginning of quarantine. It's an unpredictable year back home, re-engaging with my, not re-engaging, but with friends, family, like kind of, it's very different quality like time for me here. Because I lived like for quite a few years in Tel Aviv, then I in London and in Vancouver, and like so yeah. I will just share a little bit of like quite a few like projects before I'll bring you to the one that's kind of about the residency. Just a second, didn't. Nope. No. It's not in the beginning. Oh, wait, yeah, let's go. Can you see my screen? Nice. So basically I'm trained as an architect, but I always had the like artistic career in parallel. And I think like quite a few years ago, it started to merge and exploration about future of the space technologies and kind of our relationship with nature. So I play quite a lot with robotics and with biocomposites and materials, in addition to interface and like AI. And also like growing materials, looking into plant communication and kind of how it could represent in finding like right geometry or even like a piece itself. One of the older like project, and it's really nice that that's like already mentioned, like the plant communication, but that's what I was looking, and I think every project is like connected with another, like it just like kind of, I'm showing you now the way of like thinking. But here we looked about like what are we doing with plants in our built environment and why our relationship are so bad with them, like it's kind of shifting from Anthropocene to biocentrism and kind of becoming a more like equal members. And when we looked in the communication, that's okay, plants have their web, it's mycelium, and mycelium also will be like the main piece in the residency project. But how they communicate, what's their network, how they share kind of information, because they all like really connected. And why the true forest, the plants are much healthier and happier, because in our cities, we bring them separately and we just plant them and kind of cruelly don't like kind of break their community. And they pay us back, like it's not the same quality like of plants and trees. So we tried to develop a system. I was like with great group of artists and architects. It's like we co-founded a studio. We all met like during our masters in London. So basically we developed like a system how we can bring water, like build the communications that all planters like kind of together, and there is like a pipe in between with mycelium, like their network, and which kind of feedback on the like facade of the system we can get with it, like with the sound, with the lighting, how we communicate back and forth. So basically this is like with a system, and that's like you see very architectural background comes out. It's kind of looking into different aggregation strategies, how which kind of spaces we can create, and also struggling a lot being in the city. Like the cities are growing and growing, and we move in this concrete like jungle. And it's proof that we are psychologically so much more happier when we have like a greener cities than when it's like concrete. For example, I remember my first time in Hong Kong. I was like completely, or like Shenzhen, like I was blown away just because I was like, oh my God, I grew up in a big city, but like, how do I feel like when there, like Hong Kong is better, but Shenzhen is like just like extrusion of a huge city. So I was like completely felt disconnected with nature. So how do you create kind of a space that's all green, but even inside like envelope, kind of inside of a concrete jungle? Or also like, how do you, because like buildings were created like are built like 100, 200, 300 years ago, and we still live inside. How do we create a new functional envelope, like and kind of go in, like and recreate, like update it for our needs, the same speed that we're updating our phones, like computers. So this project, like it's the next like project, but one of the best collaboration I've ever had, it's of course with my amazing team member, Thomas Clavijo, but also Space 10, it's a Chaos Innovation Lab. And I also started with them as a residency, but I was really lucky that they chose my project and funded it to develop like a full one. So basically we looked into that everything starts from the material. And when you start from the material, you trace how it was created and how is it an art piece or is it like a design piece or architecture. If like you don't use intelligent like materials with intelligence, like the footprint is really bad behind it if it's like concrete or whatever. So what's the story? And so we started to look into how can we grow materials, or how could we use it, what's growing, and then fabricate something for it, kind of use, and then like kind of decompose it without when we don't need it. That's kind of everything has a cycle, and we need to think about all steps of it, not just like designing and creating and making it pretty. So we found out that every country, no matter what way you are, has like some agriculture. It depends if it's rice, corn, or wheat, or like river. And agriculture waste is huge, and currently we use around 10% of it. So it's a huge material that nobody kind of uses, but at the same time, our population grows, we need more and more of it, more food. So kind of we understand that, okay, let's think about what could we do with agricultural waste that's next to other. It's kind of really interesting what's happened after with the pandemic, because we started before, that it's really important to use your local resources. So basically with agricultural waste, it's crazy amount of like, and very different herbs, different colors, like there are quite a lot that you can look into it. At the same time, because we need more, like deforestation, like is a huge problem now, because we take over more and more for like our agriculture. And so yeah, using intelligently, these materials quite important. And we developed like a fabrication method that you can create a lot of geometries, and we really wanted like to develop it so simple that everybody could use it and play with it. Even like particularly my background is robotic, like parametric design, and kind of making it simple for people. A lot of people when like saw our project when we released it, it was like, that's so simple. But it was like, you have no idea how many steps of simplifying it we went through to make it available that anybody can understand what to do. It's still like in the process because, but like the first stage was released. So basically when we played with our method, like to compress biocomposite, you need pressure. So we found like a vacuum bags, and we kind of developed all these fabrication methods. Do also like with less creative geometry. But then we understood that we use so a lot of plastic, like because first we developed a technology, and then we're like, okay, but what we're doing now. And then we understood that also we're in a case innovation lab. And one of the first things in the world, what happened, like in terms of like acknowledging the recycling, it was fractal bag. That's like recycling it and reusing. It was kind of introduced by IKEA. And at the same time, it became a fashion icon, kind of that everybody play with it. Balenciaga created a bag that costed like $2,000 and looked like Fracta. And they're crazy. If you just Google on the internet, the amount of this IKEA fashion, it's like simply unbelievable. And we started to think, how could we play with it? Because I do believe that there is no technology without a context and without culture, because you need to attract people to use it and play with that. So we decided to hack Fractal back to install like some stuff and kind of create like a piece that's like, we explain you how to hack it, and then you just get two Fractal bags. So you probably have them at home, and you can have with a simple like tools, like your own piece. Of course, it's still like not so simple, like it needs like to go through some more steps. But then we started to play kind of with that and creating like shapes and geometries, and of course a lot of material investigation. And currently we're still developing a polymer that's like mixed in Cambridge in UK, and we're waiting when a bit when restrictions will be lifted. Or we will be able to, because we experiment in Madrid, that we will keep like finish our experimentation, because it's a huge problem, binders, resins, to make it 100% sustainable. And as like one of the last steps on this project, we created like a platform, like it's a concept of a platform, how you can just go online, look on it, and fold it, and you can have quite a lot of geometrical variations of it with your local source and with like completely like sustainable binders. And then you can play, if you want to do an art piece, you can have a lot of sculptural geometrical possibilities. If you want to have a chair or shelf, it's kind of there for you, and you can cluster them because it's still limited by certain sizes. That like you can easily like kind of fold, but kind of quite a lot of fun. We in particular had during this research. So, and this project, it's the funny thing is that you will see this is much more artistic and more, I think, looks in a further future and about like which kind of mega structures could grow and how it can look in the future. But they came out from the same interest, my interest in mycelium and how do you grow materials, how do you grow structures. But it just took a different shape for like a chaos lab, or like this was my personal project on site because I knew it's like I had like this exhibition a year ago. So a lot of experimentation of like how it grows, which kind of materials it creates, because mycelium is a mushroom root. It's like with a high amount of like chitin, like and with chitins like calcium. So if you kind of increase with its like nutritions, you can increase the strength of it. So basically I set up a year ago. It was like a lot of technical issues for me, like because before it was growing it's in bags. It's usually people grow it in bags because everything where mycelium is, it has to be sterilized and everything clean. Small bacteria, it's all mold, and you kind of it's all gone. So basically I developed like a technology, like an incubator that you can build like inside the structure. And basically you take mycelium that grows usually under the ground, and you can, now I was growing them, it's in air, and it was like a very different form that it kind of was taking. This structure is full of nutrition that it kind of eats, so it overtakes the structure during the show. But the core thing here was interspecies kind of collaboration, and where I'm as an artist, like where I'm set up the process, where kind of mycelium overtakes it, and where, like, for example, I had a few times of problems that gallery called me and asked me if like mushrooms could grow faster. Could you do something? I was like, unfortunately, no. It's already out of my control. That like, because they were sometimes extremely fast and they were all fascinated by this, but sometimes they were much slower. And currently I'm also looking into introducing like robotics inside. That's like will be next set of incubators. So basically I installed the structure, everything sterilized. It was like all boiled up, and the space was like all kinds of special lamps, like and stuff, UV lamps was installed inside, and that's cleaning the air during the process. So it has to grow in the dark if we don't want to get the mushrooms and want just to get the fluffy kind of snowy structure. Our beautiful opening, I was quite happy. And also I'm reference here quite a lot like quantum computing and biocomputers, like how do they work, and could be, it's a bit based with more natural like mycelium. That's what was happening with the structure over like day by day kind of. And I really saw like what it liked and what it didn't. But I never had like a time like after this to kind of revisit it and really to experiment, to kind of like implement the knowledge that I got after this exhibition. So for the residency, first of all, I extremely like the name Dynamic Natural like Connections. That got me excited to apply. And what I'm going to look, it's more like physical and digital connections. That's how do you experiment in the digital space with nature, and how do you implement it back to the incubator, and how do you kind of go back and forth in investigation, also investigating like, because these incubators, they kind of a fragment of the whole structure, but how it's kind of could look if it's like grown like on a crazy scale. So kind of a little bit more of simulations. This is one of them that I did before. So it's like when it goes stage by stage and mycelium overtakes it, and which kind of like where it likes and which kind of its weaving pattern. So, and basically, yeah, and kind of when it's in the dark, currently I'm setting up a small lab at home. I was planning to do it since the beginning of quarantine, but currently I'm motivated to do it. Yesterday I got like a small incubator that's originally, of course, aquarium. And so probably during next few days, I will weave a small structure more related to the ones that I already simulated, but we'll kind of start the process, and maybe I even have more incubators, so we'll change this one. So let's see how it goes. And in parallel, because it takes around a few weeks to grow after the process starts, so I will have time to experiment more like with digital, in digital space for it, and look what could be next experiments, what could be like a catalog of them. So quite excited. Oops. Stop sharing. Yeah.
Thank you. And yes, we are looking forward to see if they grow. Maybe we also ask you to make them grow quicker then.
Yeah, the same. My family probably won't be so happy of having them.
Well, but this is important. I think that we, of course, as I told you before, all the project is based on processes. So we just wait and see what happens. So as the mycelium will grow, maybe also you will grow connection with the other artists, and maybe the project at the end will come out completely different. So that's the idea of the residency, which is based on ideas and what potentially can come out of this. And it's very nice for me to listen to your talk and your ways of working, because I think they're really open to possibilities, and also this interspecies collaboration you are speaking about, like nature and humans collaborating, but also enhancing collaboration among us, among humans and humans, no, in relation with the environment, of course, because it's the core of our program. But I really look forward for like hybrid identities to come out of this, and I'm really excited about these possibilities. So as we have in our schedule, you are gonna be working into groups, and of one group is Malgorzata, Clara and Jos and Helen, and then another group is Freya, Katya and Jabal. We want to send out to our social media your processes. So when you work in groups, just send us some photos and small videos that we can share with our on our social media with any members and everyone else interested. So we would like to have this material on Thursday. So it's gonna be tomorrow, and then Monday 8th of March and Monday 15th of March. And then from Monday to Friday for these 3 weeks, for the first 2 weeks, I'm gonna visit you in your studio, virtual studio. So I'm gonna ask you probably a lot of questions, and then you can share your space, and if you want to show us what are you working on related to AiNIN, but also related to your practice in general, that would be nice. And I think also this idea of being able to visit an artist studio is really interesting, because usually you cannot go to an artist space, but with this digital platform, we can really have a glimpse of what happened in an artist studio. I think it's really interesting for everyone to know how creation come to be. For the final event, I told you we don't really expect the final outcome, so let's see what happened. But of course, you can choose the format of the presentation that we are going to have at the end. So the 20th of March is going to be Saturday, and we are going to have the closing event. Of course, you can show video, picture, you can do a speech or a text, sound, whatever you like. And during the 3rd week, I really encourage you to share like a small workshop, because it's I think it's fun to just work with other people, and sharing what your way of working for other people to try out. So it's I think it's really engaging for everyone, this kind of workshop. If you want to have a workshop, then send me the information so we can do the advertising online, and hopefully someone else will join. Otherwise, we can enjoy it between us. It's gonna be fine anyway. So yes, so I really wish this process will be fun and engaging for everyone, and you can really come out of these 3 weeks with a lot of new energies, I don't know, ideas, and yes, I really wish it's gonna be helpful and fun, and yes, we get to know each other better and be creative together. So if you have a question, you can just speak among you, unmute your mic and just go blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, we say goodbye.
I'd just like to add, you know, how interesting I found this evening, and I'm really thrilled because looking through everybody's applications, we had over 170, I think. It was really hard to focus and really absorb and understand what so many people were thinking about. But your projects, particularly most of, I think nearly all of them, all the Bureau and everybody who was contributing to the selection, your projects all stood out. So that was really interesting, and to actually see and hear you talk about your ideas is just really fulfilling, and I'm really, it makes me feel really confident that we've chosen really well. So thank you. I've got really excited, and I'm looking forward to seeing the progress very much. And so much of your research is talking about the kind of research Eleanor and I have been doing within our collective with Karen van der Molen, who's also listening, I think, still. So yes, I'm very excited to hear your interpretation, because we've been working quite closely with Donna Haraway's work and some of the other research that you've mentioned. So yeah, thank you so much. It's really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I'm gonna visit you during the week, and then we meet together again on the 20th of March. Okay, so good luck.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.